is her nickname. She is the only civilian that was killed during the Battle of Gettysburg, and she is 20 years old when she died. And she dies in this very home, hence why it's the Jenny Wade house, but this was actually not the home she lived in. This is the home of her sister Georgia, and Georgia's husband, John McClellan. John is a Union soldier, but he is not here during the Battle of Gettysburg. He is down south fighting. And because of that, he's gonna miss the birth of his first child. Jenny's sister Georgia is gonna give birth to a little boy in this home 5 days before the Battle of Gettysburg. It gets a little loud out here. You have to be here during bike week. We're just screaming at each other the whole time. Jenny's sister Georgia gives birth to a little boy in this house 5 days before the Battle of Gettysburg. Their mother, Mary Ann's gonna come up and help take care of Georgia and the baby. Jenny's gonna stay down a few blocks from here on a street called Breckenridge Street in the home that she shares with her mother and her younger brothers. Then of course 5 days later on July 1st, the Battle of Gettysburg begins west of town. Throughout the day it'll eventually move north of town. And history's funny because the southern troops are coming from the north and the northern troops are coming from the south. So if you imagine the Union Army running past this house, they're running through the town, past the home that Jenny's in, to get to the Confederates out west and north of town. As the day goes on, this place is getting louder, it's starting to rumble. Jenny decides at some point to come up here so she can be with her mother and her sister. And she brings her little brother Harry, who's 8 years old. She also brings a little boy named Isaac Brinkerhoff. He's 6 years old and he walks with crutches, and the family often babysits him. So they get him up here as well. So they're all gonna be together by the evening of July 1st. But also by the evening of July 1st, those Union lines that have been holding back the Confederates have broken. And now those Union troops are retreating through the town and up to the hills behind us. The hill that we're directly on is Cemetery Hill, because there's a cemetery there. Very creative with the name. But the Union Army's gonna go up to Cemetery Hill. They'll eventually make their way back to Hills of Culp's Hill, Little Round Top, Big Round Top, even more creative names, Big and Little Round Top. The Confederates are not gonna make it this far. They're gonna be chasing after them, but they're gonna occupy the town of Gettysburg and the lands west of town. And they're going to put up sharpshooters at the bottom of this hill, which is roughly where the edge of town was. You know where Mr. G's ice cream is, or the Farnsworth house is? That was the edge of town. And so that's where those Confederate sharpshooters are gonna be positioned, aiming at the Union troops they see on this hill. The Union troops are shooting back, and now this little brick house with Jenny and her family inside are stuck in between the two armies. And I'm gonna tell you the rest when we get inside. You check out the house here, the bricks here, these are original. It's marks and bullet holes. We're guessing the house was hit about 100 to 150 times during those 3 days, mostly by those Confederates that we talked about. And this is the original door, and this is the bullet hole we're talking about. That's the bullet hole created by the bullet that's gonna kill Jenny on July 3rd. So as we head inside, you are welcome to stick your finger in the bullet hole if you want. People always ask, so go for it. Head on in.
Slice of bread, Jeff. Jeff, go get a slice of bread.
I heard the click. I didn't hear the click one time. I'm in here at the end of the day. I'm done with chores. I have my dress on and I'm cleaning up and I didn't hear the click, and some poor girl opens the door. I'm standing right here. She thinks she sees the ghost of Jenny, goes flying in that direction. So make sure we hear the click of the door before we go. All right, so this is Georgia and John's kitchen. Jenny and her mother are gonna spend most of their time in this kitchen making food and bread for their families, but like I said, by the evening of July 1st, they're gonna be surrounded by Union soldiers, so they're gonna be taking food and bread and water from that well out to those Union soldiers. Georgia's gonna be spending all her time in this room. There is a bed in here. There was a bed at the time. This is a replica. Georgia, like I said, had a baby 5 days before. She gave birth to healthy little Lewis Kenneth, but we, from our understanding, she's not doing too well. She's on bed rest. Loss after childbirth was very high back then, so she is on bed rest. And Georgia will write that the two young boys often hide underneath her bed. But on the last day of the battle, July 3rd, about 8:30 in the morning, Jenny is standing over this very dough tray. This is the dough tray Jenny used the morning she died. The reason we have Jenny's dough tray is thanks to Georgia. Georgia survives the war, so does her husband, and they are going to eventually move out to Denison, Iowa. That's where they spend the rest of their life and raise their family, where they're buried today. Georgia will often come back to Gettysburg to visit her mother, who stays here the rest of her life, and this house becomes a museum in 1901. So Georgia brings us Jenny's dough tray. with Georgia's signature saying that, yep, that was Jenny's dough tray. So Jenny's leaning over the dough tray, kneading the dough for the bread and biscuits for her family and those soldiers. She has the door shut like this, more than likely to give herself some protection. Like I said, she can hear those bullets hitting the side of the house. And we believe from the direction of the Farnsworth house, possibly the attic of the Farnsworth house, a Confederate sharpshooter shoots in this direction, aiming for the Union troops they see around this house. But unfortunately it misses, and a 58 caliber mini ball is the one we have in the shop. 58 caliber mini ball is going to go through that door, through this door here, through Jenny's back, through her heart, and it'll lodge into her corset, and she's killed instantly. Sadly, her mother, standing next to the fireplace, hears the cracks of the doors, turns around and sees Jenny on the ground, and probably out of shock, she just calmly walked to the doorway and said to Georgia in bed, "Georgia, your sister's dead." And Georgia will begin to scream. The boys begin to scream, and those screams are going to alert the Union troops nearby. They come inside and see Jenny on the ground, and they tell the family, "We got to get you out of here." Safest place for them to be is below us in Georgia's cellar. The entrance to Georgia's cellar is out that window. Not going out that door. That's where the bullets are coming from, especially if you're walking out with boys in blue. Confederate soldiers are going to have perfect targets. So the soldiers got to figure a safe way to get this family out of here and out of line of fire. And that's when they see the hole in the wall upstairs. As you guys walk through this house, you're actually walking through two homes. This is a duplex. Georgia and John lived on this side. This brick wall divides the two homes, and the McLean family lived on the other side. As far as we know, the McLean family was not there at the time of the battle, and their cellar is open. And that's where the soldiers want to get this family. The day before, on July 2nd, a 10-pound Parrott artillery shell is going to go through the roof of this house, through the brick wall that divides the two homes, and lodge itself into the McLean roof, where it stays for the next 15 years. So with the butt of their guns and their feet, the soldiers are going to make that hole bigger so they can get Jenny's family up and over and down into the cellar on the other side of the house. But Mrs. Wade, understandably, does not want to leave without Jenny. So they take the quilt off the bed, they wrap the Jenny's body in the quilt, and they're going to carry Jenny and get Mrs. Wade up and over and get her down into the cellar as well. Once they're down in that cellar, two Union soldiers are going to stay with them. They shut those cellar doors, and they're going to be down there for about 24 hours. They're going to stay down all the rest of July 3rd. And if you guys have been around the battlefield or know about the Battle of Gettysburg, just over this hill is Pickett's Charge, the largest cannonade on American soil. 200 cannons are going to duke it out for several hours, and it is loud. And they are now stuck in their cellars, having no clue what's going on. So they're going to spend the night down there as well. They're going to come back up on July 4th. The battle is over, but this town is a mess, and they have a body to bury. So the only place they can properly bury Jenny for the moment is where our gift shop is. That's Georgia's garden. So they bury Jenny there for about 6 months, and then they move Jenny into town to the German Reformed Church. So Jenny can be buried in a cemetery. Jenny's buried there for about a year, and then they move her one more time. They move her to the top of the hill here to Evergreen Cemetery. That is our town cemetery. If you've been driving around, seeing the brick gatehouse entrance, that is Evergreen. You can go up there today. You can walk or drive up Evergreen. And I have a map there if you want to have a map to Jenny's grave. But she's there with a statue of a woman over top of her grave looking down at her. But next to it is our American flag. That's our perpetual flag. It flies 24/7, 365. We do not take that flag down, only when it needs replaced. She's only one of 2 women in the United States that gets an American flag like that next to their grave. It's Jenny Wade and a lady from Philadelphia.
Betsy Ross.
Betsy Ross. She's the other one. Everybody knows who Betsy is? Got a group of 3rd graders just stare at me the other day. So. All right, so this will guide you through and tell you about each room as you go through. So you have 2 rooms down here, and then you're going to go upstairs. You have 2 bedrooms upstairs, and then you are going to go through the hole in the wall. It is bigger now. You don't have to crawl on the ground like they did. And then you'll be on the McLean side of the house. You'll have 2 bedrooms over there. Down the stairs, you have a kitchen and a parlor on the other side of the house. Check out the parlor. There's a cabinet full of artifacts, including that 10-pound Parrott artillery shell that went through the house. 15 years after the war was over, the Kitzmiller family had bought this home. They're a big reason why we have this museum today. Mr. Kitzmiller's brother were working on the roof. They decide to get the shell out, and they can't reach. Their hands are too big. So they get 12-year-old Ida Mae to climb up a ladder. She gets in, pulls the shell out, hands it to her uncle, and that's when they realize it's still a bomb. Had a bomb in their house for 15 years. It's been disarmed. We're all safe now. But we still find them around Gettysburg. If you're trying to get to Little Round Top, unfortunately you can't. They're currently renovating Little Round Top. But about a month ago, they found an artillery shell on Little Round Top. They took the pictures, and then they had to go explode it off site somewhere, so it's gone now, but they did find a shell on a little round top all
Yeah,
these
that
years
was-
later.
That was on, it was on the news on my cell phone.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still up there. We still find all sorts of random things. About 20 years ago, we found a Confederate soldier out on the first day's battle, so we still find things today. But the shell in this house is in that cabinet, as well as a board from this kitchen. The boards here and the floors on the other side were replaced in the 1920s, 1930s. The stairs and all the flooring upstairs is original though, so you'll be walking in their footsteps. But the board in that cabinet came from this kitchen and it has some of Jenny's blood on it, if you want to see that. And then when you're done, you exit the kitchen facing the parking lot, make a left, you can go down to the cellar where they stayed with Jenny's body and the family. Be careful with it being rainy, steps are a little steep. And just a heads up, there is a mannequin down there. I forewarn people, I've made some children cry. Jenny's down there, but just a heads up. And then when you have any questions, back into the gift shop, I'll be happy to answer any
Yeah,
questions.
First thing I looked at when you said that she fell right there was the blood stain.
Yeah, they replaced this, so that's all gone. But the Kitzmiller family, and then after the Kitzmiller was with a family called the Millers, not to be confusing at all. They were the ones that started the museum, and we believe they're the ones that noticed the door, noticed some of the things, and preserved it so that they turned it into the museum. But that board there, if you see, it's hard to see, but there's little dark spots, and they say that's Jenny's blood there, so you can check that out. Yeah. We just, you can take all of the pictures that you like. We just ask for no video or auto recordings and no ghost hunting.
There's where the baby is. Maybe it says something.